Okay, we're going to demonstrate how to set up an audio workstation using Logic, the Doppler sample and the Electribe. Yeah. So first off, we're going to plug in our audio card. At the moment it's not plugged in at all. It goes via USB cable. I've already plugged it in around the back of the machine, but very simply just plugs in. It should just power up instantly, and there we go. On here, just make sure that your monitor mix is set to USB, your main level's up, and we'll worry about the input gains later, but you need to make sure that the input is set to analog, not digital, right? Quite important that. Oh, and also, sorry, your mic/line and guitar is set to mic line, because we're plugging in line level instruments, not guitars. Next, these two are already plugged into the back of the amp, so I'm just going to stick them in the left and right outputs on the back of it, and turn the amp back up, because that's embarrassing when you forget. Now you can see instantly Logic said it's detected a new audio device. We've already installed the drivers, so we don't need to worry about that. So let's set it up on Logic. If you get in so you can see the screen. So I'm going to hit don't use because I want to show you how to set it up properly. So we go Logic Pro, Preferences, Audio. Then in here at the moment it's set for the built-in output and the built-in microphone, which we don't want. We want it set to the M-Track Plus for both of them, should auto-update. And then we're going to set our buffer size to, we experimented a bit before and found that 1:8 gives a good balance between latency and system performance. So we'll choose that and go Apply Changes. There we go. Now, what we need to do is set up MIDI channels on Logic to control the synth and the sampler, and audio channels on Logic to take the audio input from the synth and the sampler and then eventually out through the speakers. So we'll make our channels first. So I've already got one audio channel there, so I need another one, and then I need another four external MIDI channels, because there's inside the Electribe there's actually two synthesizers and a drum machine that we're all going to control independently, although we'll only get one audio output from it, so that'll be all three of those mixed together and sent back. Down there, audio 1, make sure it's a mono channel, so that's just a circle, not two circles. We make sure the inputs, I'm looking now, oh sorry, yeah. That's weird. I'm just going to delete both those audio channels and make them again, because something went a little wrong with one of them. You can hear the thumping techno from downstairs, that's useful. So that one's set to input 1, and audio 2, you need to set it to input 2. Like that. Then each of these, in the interest of making it interesting, I won't just have them as channel 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll pick fairly random numbers, and I'll show you how to set the channels on each of these devices. So for our first one, we'll rename this to Synth 1, and we'll have it coming out the M-Track Plus port, which is already set to, and we'll have it on channel 3, why not? And then I'm just going to change the icon so that I can see what's going on. So let's make it look something synth-like. Next one, I'll have that as Synth 2. And that's already got a decent icon, but that might change the second I set this to channel 4. Yep. And then this one we want as the drum machine. Traditionally the drums tend to be on MIDI channel 10, so I'm going to break convention completely just for the interest of this and set it to MIDI channel 9. And again I'll change the icon. Something a bit more fitting. Oh, and change the name of the channel as well. Then this one's going to control our sampler, so let's set it to MIDI channel. Now you can only have up to MIDI channel 8 on the sampler, so let's be awkward and set it to MIDI channel 2. Change it to sampler. And the icon to something that looks vaguely like a drum machine. I don't mean drum machine, sampler, yeah, sure. Okay, so that's the MIDI setup done on Logic. Now we need to plug our MIDI cables in and then boot up our devices. So the way we're going to do it, the Electribe has got 3 MIDI ports, one MIDI in, MIDI out and MIDI through. The way we're going to do it is connect a MIDI cable from the out of our audio card into the in of our Electribe, and then connect the through of the Electribe to the in of the Dr. Sample. Right? It's important you do it that way around, because the sampler's only got MIDI in, it hasn't got MIDI through. And MIDI through is what, well, it duplicates all the signals coming in from MIDI in straight out to MIDI through. So that way we can connect up both devices just using a single MIDI out. And the MIDI through. Get into the input. Just at this point, it's really important to make sure you don't leave cables dangling like that, because all it'll take is someone to get the foot caught in it, and then everything goes flying. So just put health and safety, cables go at the back. We then want the audio, nearly forgot. So we take a couple of audio cables. These are just standard TS cables or guitar jacks. And we take the left output of the Electribe. You can see it's marked L/mono. So if you only want one channel, use the left, not the right. And that's going into input 1 on our M audio. And again, make sure the cable's out of the way. Then same deal on the Dr. Sample. Careful here, I nearly plugged it into the microphone input. The headphone output, it's actually a stereo output, but we can get away with just a mono cable. And again, input 2, and make sure the cable's out of the way. Then, now, when you plug in the Dr. Sample, that's when you have to set what MIDI channel it's actually on. So if we look on this, I've set it to channel 2 is what we're expecting. So what you do, you hold down the big 2 button while you plug it in and switch it on. And it should respond then on MIDI channel 2. We'll test that in a minute. Then for the Electribe, don't have to do anything while it's booting up. And you'll see it's got a little kind of boot up time. This is sort of a progress loading bar while it's booting. So you just got to wait for that to get to the end. Or when you knock the power cable and it resets. Bit dodgy, never mind. Right. Now, we'll quickly just test that we're getting audio from this. So, if you have a look on the screen, I'm going to switch on the record enable and the monitor enable on both of these channels. And you can already hear a hiss, which is coming from this because the volume's all the way up. But if we go on the Electribe and you choose Synth 1 and press anything on the keyboard down here, that works. Synth 2, and then the drum machine. Okay, so that's working. The sampler, we've got some random samples loaded on there, so let's see what it sounds like. Well, that works. Wasn't expecting that. Okay, good. So that's both of our audio channels. We know that's working, we've tested it, it's fine. Now we need to test the MIDI. Now we need to set up the MIDI. So if you get a close-up of this here. Now the way you set the MIDI on the Electribe is we've got this grid here. And we can see it's actually been circled around a little bit, but MIDI ch stands for MIDI channel. So we go global, and that lights up that, so we're now in that column, and then we use the plus and minus arrows to go down to there. You can see it's selected. So then what we do, we choose Synth 1, which we know is this one, and then because we're on MIDI channel, when we turn the jog wheel, it changes the channel. So I'm expecting Synth 1 on channel 3, like that. Synth 2 is on channel 4, and then the drums, at the moment it's on channel 10, I think we set it to channel 9, yep. So to channel 9. Now that's all the MIDI setup done. Now what should happen now is when I play on the keyboard, it sends a MIDI signal to the computer into Logic. Whatever channel we've got selected, that's the one that the MIDI message gets sent to on that channel, and it goes to our devices. So let's see if it works. Let's try synth 1 first. Synth 2. The drum machine might have to hunt around a little bit for where the drums are on this, because if you play up here, look, you'll get nothing, and then suddenly and nothing else around it. There we are. And then the sampler, same thing, we have to kind of hunt around to try and find it. That was lucky. Incidentally, that sample's set up so that when you press it once, it starts, and it doesn't stop until you press it again. So if you freak out while you're trying this, that's why, right? And that's it, it's all set up. I'm ready to play with. Okay? Thanks.